Deadly attacks and collapsing services push Sudan closer to catastrophe. The United Nations has sounded the alarm over Sudan's spiraling crisis, warning that deadly attacks in al-Fashir, the collapse of essential services and mass displacement are pushing millions in Darfur and beyond closer to catastrophe. According to local reports, heavily shelling and assault late last week in al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur state, killed at least 6 civilians and injured scores more, triggering fresh displacement from the already besieged city. Sudan has been embroiled in a brutal civil war between rival militaries, the Sudanese Armed Forces SAF and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF and affiliated militias. Thousands of civilians have been killed, villages and farmlands destroyed, and nearly 12 million people driven from their homes, over 4 million as refugees into neighboring countries. The country also risks becoming the world's largest hunger crisis in recent history as infrastructure, trade routes, and supply chains lie in ruins. Famine has already been confirmed in Zamzam camp, which once shelters hundreds of thousands of civilians, and many more areas are at risk. Humanitarians warn that essential services are breaking down. Water trucking to the only functioning hospital was suspended over the weekend, and community kitchens shut down after running out of food. Without urgent support, they warn that the most vulnerable people could face severe hunger within days. Nearly 100 wounded people, including women and children, were admitted to medical facilities in a single day last week, with several pronounced dead on arrival. According to reports from the medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, Doctors Without Borders. Survivors who managed to escape al-Fashir described unbearable conditions in the city, which has endured more than a year of siege by the Rapid Support Forces RSF and allied groups. UN report details worsening crisis in Sudan. Sudan's conflict-driven crisis sharply escalated in the first half of the year, with a dramatic rise in civilian death, summary executions, and ethnic violence, according to a new report from the UN Human Rights Office. The report released Thursday says at least 3,384 civilians were killed between January 1st and June 30, primarily in Darfur, followed by Kordofan and Khartoum. That figure represents nearly 80% of all civilian deaths documented in 2024 so far, though the actual toll is believed to be significantly higher. In April, RSF offensive in North Darfur resulted in the death of at least 527 people, including over 270 in displacement camps. The UN reported 990 unlawful civilian killings outside active conflicts, with incidents tripling between February and April due to retaliatory violence in Khartoum. Video evidence indicated RSF fighters executed at least 30 individuals in civilian clothing in April. The report highlights issues such as sexual violence, arbitrary detentions, and attacks on humanitarian workers and journalists, with at least 7 media workers killed. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk emphasized the urgent need for international action, noting Sudan's humanitarian crisis affects 24.6 million people facing food insecurity and inadequate water access. More than 100 Sudanese refugees are dead or missing after 2 shipwrecks off the coast of Tobruk, Libya, on September 13 and 14. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, reported that a boat carrying 74 people capsized, leaving only 13 survivors. Additionally, a separate incident involved a rubber dinghy carrying 75 refugees, where a fire led to at least 50 deaths. The International Organization for Migration, IOM, has called for urgent action to prevent such tragedies. The IOM provided medical care to 24 survivors, while over 450 migrants have died or gone missing in the central Mediterranean since the start of 2025, making it the most dangerous route for migrants. Libya serves as a key transit point for refugees from sub-Saharan Africa who are trying to reach Europe. The UNHCR advocates for an end to the conflicts in Sudan, emphasizing the need for safe and legal migration routes. Libya has struggled with stability and human trafficking since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Talk Africa, is Sudan anywhere near peace, unity and stability? It is nearly 2.5 years since war broke out in Sudan. In that period, tens of thousands of civilians have been killed and over 13 million others displaced. Efforts to pacify the country have proven futile so far, and recent endeavors have been dealt a fresh blow. As we look at the mixed picture the conflict is painting, this episode of Talk Africa assesses whether Sudan is anywhere near restoring peace, unity, and stability.
President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General Abdel-Fattah al-Burhan, affirmed that the blatant Israeli aggression targeting the Qatari capital constitutes a flagrant violation of the sovereignty of a sisterly Arab state, international law, and the United Nations charters. In his address before the Arab Islamic Emergency Summit in Doha, on Monday, the TSC president declared Sudan's full solidarity with leadership, government, and people of Qatar and its firm stance by their side against the conspiracy to which they were subjected. He stressed that aggression does not concern Qatar alone, but sends a troubling message to the entire world while undermining sincere efforts aimed at reaching a settlement to end the humanitarian tragedy in Gaza and weakening any chances of success for de-escalation initiatives. He affirmed that the only path to achieving just and lasting peace in the Middle East is the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. He added, "We highly value Qatar's honorable stance in supporting just causes, foremost among them the Palestinian cause and its humanitarian and political backing of the Palestinian people. Today, as we witness this aggression, our national and moral duty obliges us to stand united with Doha." Concluding his address, General al-Burhan stated, "We firmly believe that our unity and cohesion in a common stance are the best means to influence the course of events, restore the power of international law, and build a safe future characterized by justice and peace for all our people." President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council, TSC, and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General Abdel-Fattah al-Burhan, held a bilateral meeting with the Emir of the State of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, on the sidelines of the extraordinary Arab Islamic Summit in Doha. The meeting touched on the course of bilateral relations and ways to enhance joint cooperation between Sudan and Qatar. Al-Burhan briefed the Emir of Qatar on the latest developments in Sudan, stressing the deep-rooted historical relations between the Sudanese and Qatari peoples. For his part, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani reaffirmed Qatar's support for Sudan's unity, security, stability, and territorial integrity, expressing his country's aspiration to contribute to achieving peace and stability in Sudan as soon as possible. Vice President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council, TSC Commander Malik Agar, met with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Ambassador Muhyiddin Salim. The Minister of Foreign Affairs said in a press statement that he briefed TSC Vice President on the performance of Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and promoting and strengthening Sudan's external relations, in addition to the outcomes of Sudan's participation led by President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General Abdel-Fattah al-Burhan, and the extraordinary Arab-Islamic Summit in Doha. Minister Salim added that he received directives from Vice President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council to support the work of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs during the coming period and to enhance the role of diplomacy, stressing that the government of hope and peace will work on reconstruction, recovery, and coordination of efforts in line with the established roadmap. Ambassador Salim further noted that the guidance of Vice President Agar will serve a reference for the Sudan's presence in regional and international forums. Member of the Transitional Sovereignty Council, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Engineer Ibrahim Jaber, praised the great sacrifices made by the armed forces and others supporting them in the battle of dignity to repel the brutal aggression of the rebel militia against the Sudanese people and safeguard the sovereignty of the nation. Lieutenant General Jaber visited the wounded soldiers, commending their high morale, which reflect the armed forces' deep-rooted doctrine of sacrifice and devotion in defense of the homeland and its territorial integrity. TSC member reaffirmed the leadership's commitment to providing the necessary support to sustain quality medical services, including the dedication and perseverance of the military medical co-staff in treating both war wounded and the general public. For his part, Lieutenant General Dr. Zakaria Ibrahim, Director General of Medical Services, expressed appreciation for the leadership's concern for the wounded and injured. He stressed that despite the war conditions, the Medical Services Administration continues to provide high-level medical care, including CT scan, catheterization, emergency and first aid services for both military personnel and civilians. Member of the Transitional Sovereignty Council, Dr. Nawara Abu Muhammad Tahir, commended the Ministry of Interior for its role in stabilizing security and restoring confidence in Khartoum state. During her visit to the ministry, she reviewed ongoing rehabilitation works and was briefed by Interior Minister Lieutenant General Police Babikir Samra on the restoration of police stations, development and forces, and improved public services for issuing identification documents, which encourages voluntary return to the capital. Dr. Nawara also praised police efforts in tackling illegal settlements, improving foreign infiltrators, and combating crime. She was accompanied by Khartoum State Governor Ahmed Uthman Hamza. Prime Minister Professor Kamel Idris, accompanied by his delegation, arrived in Riyadh on an official visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. At King Khalid International Airport, the Prime Minister was received by His Royal Highness Prince Muhammad bin Abdul Rahman bin Abdul Aziz, Deputy Governor of Riyadh Region, the custodian of the two holy mosques, Ambassador to Sudan Ali bin Hassan Jafar, along with a number of officials. The Attorney General of the Republic of Sudan, Intisar Ahmed Abdel Al, stated that Sudan presented a comprehensive statement before the Human Rights Council documenting crimes committed by the rebel Rapid Support Forces militia, including sexual violence, forced displacement, genocide, and war crimes, noting that several cases have been referred to the independent Sudanese judiciary. She explained that Sudan called for ending the fact-finding mission and asked the international community to pressure the United Arab Emirates UAE to stop supporting the militia. The delegation also met with the Council's President, the High Commissioner, and Amnesty International to review measures facilitating justice, including the formation of female investigation teams and the removal of procedural restrictions. Sudan participated in the Sudanese-Brazilian Investment Forum, which held in Sao Paulo, Brazil, September 16 to 19, with the participation of both public and private sectors. The Sudanese delegation, headed by the Acting Secretary General of National Investment Authority, Ahlam Madani Mahdi Sbeel. In press statements, Ms. Ahlam stressed that the National Investment Authority is keen to participate in such forums to attract investments to Sudan and contribute to the reconstructions of war-affected areas. She noted that the forum gathered broad participation from the Ministries of Agriculture, Animal Resources, and Minerals, along with the institutions from the public and private sectors. She explained that the event presents an opportunity to establish smart partnerships that would boost the national economy, pointing out that it's organized under the auspices of the Sudanese Embassy in Brazil in coordination with the Arab-Brazilian Chamber of Commerce. The program of the forum included meetings with international affairs and the governments of Sao Paulo and the Brazilian Beef Exporters Associations. In addition to business-to-business sessions between Sudanese and Brazilian sector representatives, as well as an accompanying exhibitions. For his part, Sudan's ambassador to Brazil, Ahmed Attijani Suar, praised the efforts exerted by the National Investment Authority to attract investors. He stated that the forum, organized in coordination with the Arab-Brazilian Chamber of Commerce, aims to encourage Brazilian companies to engage in reconstruction projects and explore investment opportunities in agriculture, animal resources, and other fields, thereby enhancing economic exchange between the two countries. Delegation from Sudan Airports Holding Company, led by engineer advisor Sir Al-Khatem Babikar, Director General, is participated in the 34th Africa General Assembly held in Lusaka, Zambia, September 13 to 19, under the slogan Empowering African Airports for Strategic Growth. The participation reflects Sudan's commitment to strengthening international aviation cooperation. The events bring together African and global aviation leaderships to discuss airport infrastructure development, sustainability, and the transition towards green airports. The governor of the Central Bank of Sudan, Burai Al-Sadiq, chaired the 49th ordinary session of the Board of Governors of Arab Central Banks and Monetary Institutions on September 17 to 18, 2025 at Four Seasons Hotel, Tunis. The meetings was held under the patronage of His Excellency President of the Republic of Tunisia, Qais Said, and organized by the Arab Monetary Fund in cooperation with the Central Bank of Tunisia. This session is considered one of the most important coordination platforms of monetary and financial Arab region, chaired by the governor of the Central Bank of Sudan. The meetings addressed a set of strategic issues, including enhancing central banks' responses to pressures and shocks arising from trade wars strengthening cybersecurity resilience in the financial sector following up on launch of the region-wide instance payments initiatives, reviewing financial stability reports and the 2025 Joint Arab Economic Reports, as well as the action plans of Arab task forces specialized in banking, supervision, financial inclusion, and modern financial technologies. Turkish Airlines launched its first direct flights from Istanbul International Airport to Port Sudan International Airport, and a strategic step to enhance the air linking between the two countries, Turkey and Sudan, and in the future through Khartoum International Airport.
Professor Al-Hibr Yusuf Noor Al-Daim is university professor, a member of Sudanese parliament, and an observer of Muslim Brotherhood in Sudan since March 2008. Born in April 1940 in the village of As-Sarorab, located in the northern countryside of Omdurman, to religious family in Baltic environment. He received his primary education in the Al-Arab and Al-Wusta neighborhoods in the Omdurman. Then Wadi Sayyidna Higher Secondary School in the same city, Ahmed Ali Al-Niwari, and Professor Abdullah Al-Tayyib were among his professors, and Al-Tayyib was given special care after it was marked in the designation and the propositions and the prophecies later, and the processions turned into slight friendship. He then received a bachelor degree in Arabic from the faculty in Arab University of Khartoum with the first honor in 1965. He traveled on a scientific mission to the United Kingdom, where he mastered in the English language without losing his Sudanese. University associated in 1960, he received doctor in Department of Islamic Study from the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, with emphasis in Imam al-Tabari. He has scientific participation in the number of countries and the continents. Dr. Al-Hibr Yusuf is from a few at the level of the Arab world, including originality, value, and real knowledge of adad, literatures, interpretation, science, the Quran, and its many reading. In addition to the paragraphs to the Prophet's hadith, through the availability and the stressful success on the true sources of the sciences, we began to the attempted is awakened in the mystery of current education to stay away from the solid source based on the explanation and the elegance and of the most Islamic poets who gave thoughts and the applications from the family cases appreciated despite his highly his Islamist and the complexity of the knowledge in the Arabic language. Arabic poetry is the sciences of green interpretations and interesting forces. He was described is the poet in the care of materials. It holds the lefty printed downs introduces the press of the Quran, which includes 25 poems and the parkis entries from the high of the Quran, and that include the summary of what the presented in the program, the best of hadith. He is active in the given locked and present radio programs, mostly novelty the programs البيان, most novelty the programs سحر البيان on Sudanese radio, in which he dealt with the parties of interpretations and statement in the Holy Quran. And the program Al Hadith Ahsan on Shruq at the Sudan Journals. Dr. Al-Hiba Nuruddin worked as a professor in the Arabic language department and the Faculty of Arts, and later became its president and the assistant professor in the department with the academic work. He was a member of Fixed Council since in the Beth establishment and the apartments member of the Zaka, Broad and the Streets. It said about him when he took Professor Abdul Tayyib was reflecting in the Morocco to teach the class once it invited him to live in teaching at the old University of Khartoum, and he replied that he left behind his student and he quieted him and another mufti left lines in them. Dr. Issam al-Bashir, scholar, preacher, and former Sudanese minister of Al-Awqaf, said about him, Sheikh Al-Hibir was skilled in the Arabic language writer, both in the syllabus in the Arabic science exchange. In the place of his Sheikh and teacher, the Abdullah Tayyib, who is credited with the fact of when his camel carried him to the University of Sidi al-Khamis Muhammad. In the past, the class of the laughing relative teaching in the University of Khartoum, they replied them, it is enough that left behind his youth in al-Asir, al-Hibir Yusuf, or it finds his money get half mer garlands them. The permanent diet in Sudanese capital Khartoum on 7th is November 19, 2023.
Wooden pot building in Sudan is a long-standing traditional profession, particularly in various regions of the country. This industry relies on local and traditional woods such as acacia. Pots are used for transporting goods and passengers, fishing and tourism. Many families depend on this profession for their livelihood. The importance of wooden pots lies in their role as a means of transportation and trade. Wooden pots were a major means of transporting goods and passengers along the River Nile, serving as a vital artery for economic and social life and a source of livelihood. Thousands of families in Sudan depend on these professions, with children inheriting the craft from their fathers and grandfathers. Wooden pots are also used for tourism and entertainment for families in Sudan, including Nile cruises, especially in the summer. Production areas are located in consumption area near some River Nile. Some areas in Sudan are famous for pot building, such as Durman, Jabal Awliya, and Tuti Island. Suitable woods such as acacia are among the most important for building wooden pots, as they are lightweight, adapt to the strong river current, and are highly efficient. However, they can be rare. Sometimes there are efforts being made to preserve it. Artisans and professionals are striving to confront the challenges of extinction and preserve this authentic heritage craft.
عزاني إحنا الجبال ليل نفوق صفار عزاني إحنا النبال عز في الفؤاد سحر حلال ونار هواك شفاء